You're watching the NCWLIFE Magazine. I'm Eric Granstrom along with Austin Moser, who's a fishing guide. We're at Lake Roosevelt on this particular adventure. Speaking of Austin's Outdoor Adventures, LLC, we'll give you more about the website and maybe how you can hire this guy and have him take you out fishing. But Austin, is being a guide, is this a year-round occupation?
Yeah, it is. It wasn't in the beginning, but I've built my clientele base up as such, and we're able to fish a lot of different fisheries throughout the year. So I start in December on Roosevelt doing the kokanee and the rainbows, and then that progresses into walleye, and then it progresses into sturgeon, and then we start salmon fishing, and then we're down salmon fishing on the fall fish, which would be down at Buoy 10 area, and then we follow the fish back up the river up to the Hanford Reach and down through the Dalles and stuff like that in the Columbia Gorge. So yeah, my year-round fishing is doing well, and it's been a challenge to get there, but being 7 years in, we're doing really well, and we've made it over the hump, and we're having a good time with it.
Well, there was, I think with the enhancement of the fisheries that's happened in the Columbia River, and the Upper Columbia, especially in the past 5-7 years, that we saw, it seemed like everybody and their cousin was being a fishing guide, and now they're not fishing guides anymore. How tough is that?
That is partially true, because there's been a lot of them around our area that have gone away, but also there's all kinds of new ones coming up. It seems like the Tri-Cities is pumping out fishing guides like crazy right now, it seems like. But those guys got to cut their teeth and get it figured out, and it takes time to build up that clientele base and to figure out all the ins and outs and what to do and what not to do, and how to get customers and things. So there's a lot that goes into it, not just fishing. It's marketing and finding that target market that's going to want to fish with you, and it's kind of tough to get it all figured out. But once you do it, you just got to stick with it, and that's what I've been doing. So it's been a challenge. It was a challenge in the beginning, but the fishing was so good when I started that my phone would ring off the hook when the seasons would start, and you never knew if it was going to be a good season until just before, and you start watching dam counts and people start getting excited, and then all of a sudden the phone starts ringing, and here we go. That's
the tough part too. You look upriver from the Wenatchee Valley up towards the Methow, and you have people that were dependent, like you mentioned, on the steelhead fishery that went away. And sometimes the salmon fishing is either good or not so good, depending upon the run. It's kind of like being, I think, in the orchard industry or something like that. You have so many other things that are out of your control. How frustrating can that be?
It can be really frustrating. We have these seasons that we don't have announcements for openers, and then we'll have emergency closures. So you're out there during show season in January and February trying to book these dates, and then we don't know if they're going to be open. And so we kind of try to guesstimate where and when it's going to open based on the last year. And a lot of times we get it pretty close, but it can be really frustrating if they don't open it all of a sudden, and you're trying to juggle people around, especially when your schedule's pretty full.
So you look at a boat like this, looking at the expense factor of getting into this for you. This boat we're standing on here. What is this, about $60,000, something like that?
Yeah, they run anywhere from $60,000 to $70,000 depending on what options you get with them. And that just comes.
The big expense is this thing right behind us here.
Yeah, that and it just comes with the two motors for that price. It doesn't even come with electronics and all the other things that we have that go into this. Anchor systems, bow mounts, fish finders, downriggers, all that kind of stuff.
And the rods and reels and lines and lures and everything else. Anybody that's been to a sporting goods store that just wanted to go out for the weekend and just buy a few lures, $5, $6, $7, $8 a piece, and that doesn't take long to add up.
It sure doesn't, and when you got 6 anglers in your boat, you got to buy 6 of everything, and you got to have a spare too. So I usually have 7 to 8 rods in the boat for any given fishery that I'm fishing, and that adds up as well, especially when you're using good equipment.
So for those who are uninitiated, who are hearing this conversation for the first time and think, well, that might be kind of interesting. How much is it to go fishing with a guide like you to get out on the water? I guess we should tell folks the more you have with you, the little less expensive per person it is, right?
Yeah, generally, I charge $300 a person for 2 people, so it's $600 for 2, and then $100 for each additional after that. And sometimes prices will be a little bit different for the different fisheries you're doing, depending on cost of the fishery and what all it entails. If I have to drive the boat a whole bunch, there's a lot of gas involved, that kind of thing. But generally, most guides are anywhere from $200 to $250 per person, depending on what their costs are and stuff like that. So,
do you ever get sick of fishing?
No, I get sick of not catching.
Yeah.
Being a fishing guide is awesome when you're catching fish. Mm-hmm. Everybody's happy, you're the hero, but when you're not catching fish, you kind of turn into a zero, and so you really have to work at it and just keep diligent and trying new things and working through your gear and just staying busy and trying to catch fish for people and not just sitting there like a bump on a log and just waiting, you know what I mean? So
what's the one thing that, for people who come out on the boat with you, what would you like of your guests and what do you expect of your guests? Do they have to be experienced fishermen? Do they have to be strong? What are you looking for?
I have the most inexperienced to experienced people in the boat all the time, and I can usually tell there's always one guy that wants to help a lot in the boat when he gets in there, and but no, you don't have to have any experience. All you got to have is a fishing license, catch record card, all the endorsements that you need for that fishery, whatever lunch you want to bring, and just dress appropriate for the weather. Basically, I do as much or as little as you want me to, and I try to teach you how to be able to do it on your own if you want. I get that all the time. I get guys that want to learn a fishery, so they come out and they fish with me for a day, and then they've got their boat that they've brought with them, and then they're out there fishing, and I don't mind that. They become kind of friends, you know what I mean? Like, we see each other on the water, I'm like, doing good over here, and they're like, well, we did okay over there, so we kind of share information a little bit like that. I think that's an important thing, is to getting repeat customers and stuff like that.
Now, for the ladies that might be watching, they might wonder, well, gee, you're out here in this open boat and you're out on the water and there's no bathrooms. What do you do?
Well, we have ways of going around that in the boat. We have ways to hide in here, and we have a potty bucket that we can use. We can go to shore. We can go into the bathroom. There's a lot of different options. Just kind of depends on the area we're in and how comfortable the people are with each other in the boat.
Sure.
Families and stuff, they don't usually. It's not a big deal. Yeah.
Sure. Gotcha. So how do we find out more about you? And I love the fact you're based in Wenatchee, but you go all up and around the Northwest. If people want to find out more, give you a call and say, hey, I want to try this. How do they do it?
Well, I got a website. It's www.austonsnorthwestadventures.com, and my phone number is 509-668-0298. If you go to the website, there's a ton of information, a ton of photos on there, a little description about me, and it's a really good website. So you can get a lot of information out of it. It's got pricing, all the different fisheries I do, and just a little bit about my background.
And if you watch any of Dave Graybill, the Fishing Magician's videos, I've had a hand in that over the years, and we've had a lot of adventures, a lot of fun times with Austin Moser, so you can check those out on YouTube as well. Speaking of Dave Graybill, we're going to talk to the Fishing Magician when we come back here on this glorious day on Lake Roosevelt. I don't care if we're not catching fish because we're out here on the water. It's better than being at home and working, that's for sure. We're going to talk to Dave Graybill, the Fishing Magician, coming up next here on the NCWLIFE Magazine. Don't go away.